All right, today we're checking into the hotel industry. It's this whole world where an empty room is basically a daily crisis, and the only thing you're really selling is a good feeling. It's a fascinating mix of high-stakes real estate, super complex operations, and some pretty unique economics. So let's unpack it.
It seems simple, right? It's just a place to sleep. But a hotel room can actually be a super powerful barometer for a country's financial health. So the big question we're really digging into today is this: how can something as simple as booking a vacation or a business trip tell us something profound about the entire economy?
Okay, so to get that answer, we've got to look at hotels a little differently. They're not just buildings with beds. They are a direct reflection of how confident people and businesses are feeling about the future, specifically their financial future. And it all boils down to this one big idea: discretionary spend. That's the money you have left over after you've paid for all the boring stuff. Food, rent, the absolute necessities. When people start spending that extra cash on things like vacations and hotel stays, it's a huge green flag for the economy. Just think back to the lockdowns, right? We all kept buying groceries, but travel? Poof, it just vanished. That's discretionary spending in a nutshell.
And let me tell you, right now in India, that spending is absolutely taking off. You've got this massive travel boom now that we're past the pandemic. Destination weddings are bigger than ever. Big business conferences and events are back. And on top of all that, new airports are opening up all these new once-remote destinations. All of this together is just creating this huge, surging demand for hotel rooms.
So, just how big is this boom? I mean, really? Well, when you start looking at the numbers behind India's hospitality sector, they're pretty staggering. They tell a story of incredible scale and really exciting growth.
Take a look at this number, 10%. Any guesses what that could be? It's not a profit margin, it's not a growth rate, it's something way more fundamental to the country's economy.
Yeah, that number, it's all about people. Roughly 10% of the entire Indian workforce gets their paycheck, one way or another, from the hospitality sector. And that's not just the folks working in the hotel, like the receptionists and housekeepers. We're talking millions of indirect jobs, too. The laundry services, the security guards, the taxi drivers outside. It is a massive, massive engine for employment.
And listen, the growth story here is just as wild. In 2023, the sector was valued at about $24 billion. The forecast? It's expected to hit nearly $29 billion by 2028. That kind of jump tells you there's some serious, sustained confidence in where things are headed. And a huge piece of this puzzle? It's international tourism. I mean, after that predictable dip during the pandemic, just look at the forecast for 2028. A jump to over 31 million arrivals. This kind of projected boom is like rocket fuel for the entire hotel industry.
Okay, but numbers only tell part of the story, right? Because unlike selling, say, a smartphone, the core product in the hotel business is something you can't touch. It's totally intangible, and it's deeply personal. It's the guest experience.
See, here's the thing you have to understand. In this business, the product isn't really the room, it's the feeling. Having clean sheets and safe drinking water, that's just the bare minimum. That's the price of entry. If you fail there, you've already lost. What really makes a hotel stand out, what allows them to charge more, are the things that create an experience. The cool decor, the way the staff treats you, those little details that make a simple stay something you actually remember.
And this obsession with the guest experience, well, it leads to some really, really peculiar economics. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual business of how these places run and make their money.
This one sentence, man, it just perfectly sums up the biggest headache for anyone in the hotel business. Think about it. A grocery store can put yesterday's apples on sale, but a hotel? You can never, ever sell yesterday's empty room. That money is just gone, forever.
This is what we call a perishable inventory, and it is absolutely brutal. Let's say a hotel has 100 rooms. If they only sell 80 of them tonight, the potential money from those other 20 rooms just vanishes into thin air at midnight. You can't just sell 120 rooms tomorrow to make up for it. This creates this incredible, non-stop pressure to fill every single bed, every single night.
And if that wasn't tough enough, you've got seasonality to deal with. Demand goes through the roof during holidays and wedding season, but then it can just fall off a cliff in the off-season. So to survive, hotels have to get creative. They'll offer discounts, try to attract new kinds of travelers like digital nomads who can work from anywhere, and even invent new reasons to visit, like staycations for locals, just to keep those rooms from sitting empty.
Okay, and then there's one more giant layer to this cake. Hotels are crazy expensive to build and maintain. It's what's called a capital-intensive business. You have to sink a ton of money into the land and the building itself. These are your fixed assets. long before a single guest ever swipes a keycard. We're talking years of construction before the hotel makes its first dollar.
So, to deal with this huge upfront costs, the big hotel chains got smart. They came up with different ways to grow. They can go the old school route and own the property outright, but that takes a ton of capital. Or they can go with a more asset-light approach. They can manage a hotel for a third-party owner, or they can franchise their brand name out to an independent operator. This lets them grow their brand way faster without having to buy up billions in real estate.
And this is where the picture of the Indian market gets really interesting. We all think of the big famous hotel chains, right? But look at this. They make up a tiny, tiny fraction of the total rooms. The unorganized, independent hotels are overwhelmingly the majority. This creates this incredibly fragmented, super competitive market, which, by the way, is a massive opportunity for platforms that can bring them all together.
All right, we've been through a lot, so if you're looking at this industry, what are the big things you absolutely have to keep in mind? Let's boil it all down.
You can really boil it all down to these 5 things. First, it's all about people, and the experience is the only product that matters. Second, you're living on a razor's edge with an inventory that expires every single night. And finally, you're dealing with crazy seasonal swings and massive fixed costs because it's so capital intensive. If you can wrap your head around these 5 points, you really get the soul of the hotel industry.
Which kind of leaves us with this one last really fascinating question. In a business with such high costs, this insane daily pressure, and where every tiny detail matters, how do the best hotels find an edge? How do they not just survive, but actually thrive? Finding that perfect balance? Well, that's the true art of being a hotelier.